Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's Sohbet and Sufi meditation. This week, I want to talk a little about Rabi al-Awwal, which of course is the current month that we're in within the Al-Hijri, or some people call it the Islamic calendar. This month marks the birth of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the 12th of Rabi al-Awwal is the traditional date when we celebrate Maulid an-Nabi, which is the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people call it Milad as well. Um, some people celebrate it throughout the month as well, but traditionally we mark that date as the date of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is also the month of the Prophet's migration to Medina, the Hijrah. So it's actually the very beginning of the Hijri calendar as well. Rabi al-Awwal is associated with joy and celebrations in the Muslim community. So this is a time when Muslims tend to come together, have nice community events, obviously focused around the birth and the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and discussing what we can learn from that within our own lives, and how we can get closer to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through learning more about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, through events and through reading Salawat together and zikr as a community. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in the year 570 CE or AD, during what the Arabs refer to as the year of the elephant. His birth is seen as a rahmah, or a mercy, or a compassion, or a kindness to humankind, as described in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Anbiya, Surah 21, verse 107. Many ulama recommend celebrating his life by learning about his character. So this is through reading the seerah, the biography of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and reading about his life. There's many biographies that have been written on the life of the Prophet Muhammad. So some of them are really inspirational and amazing, and others don't quite capture in the same way. But still, it's very good to read these, especially at this time. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is understood by us Muslims as being a perfect example of compassion, of kindness, patience, forgiveness, of uprightness, of justice, of decency. So reflecting upon the Prophet ﷺ's conduct, his akhlaq, how he dealt with other people, is really important for us as Muslims, because it can help us improve our relations, not only with other Muslims, but with other people in general. Otherwise, if we don't learn this, then we tend to find that we run into problems within our lives and within our community. So it's a good time for us to emphasize this message of peace, of justice, and of the social reforms that the Prophet Muhammad SAW brought initially to the people of the Arabian Peninsula, who, as we know, before Islam, these people were in a state of loss. They were, burying daughters alive. They were fighting, battles over generations over some silly misunderstanding that happened some years ago, matters which could have been resolved in a much better way with a bit of wisdom and understanding. And this was what the Prophet Muhammad SAW brought to the community. He also brought to them an understanding of the importance of establishing a rule of law, and that no human being is above the law, and that we have to respect God, we have to respect each other, we have to respect the law. And if we establish a society like that, we establish civilization, we establish a just society that people will feel happy with, and everybody will get on. And I'm sure, especially in these times at the moment, with what's happening in the Middle East, with also what is happening in Bangladesh, and also what's happening in Europe and in the UK with these riots and this all these community tensions and stuff. There's a lot that I'm sure that we can all, Muslims and everybody else, can learn from this. So it's good for us also to share these teachings, share the life story of the Prophet Muhammad SAW with other people within our communities. And when we hold events, that we make them inclusive events, that we invite everybody to, and make sure that everybody feels comfortable and can come together in a good way. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to do that as a community, just like the Eids and other community events. And it's also important for us to emphasize the love of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself told us that none of you truly believes until he is more beloved to you. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is more beloved to you than your own parents. And how much do we all love our parents? And this is a hadith that is related, in Sahih Bukhari. This is a well-known hadith. So, how much do any of us really love the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Have we took a step back and really thought about that? How often do we think about the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and how he lived his life, how he was with other people? The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the source of a religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Holy Quran to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but we received it through the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then, of course, through the Sahaba Ikram, the righteous companions, and through the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's family, the al-Awwal, and then later through the ulama. We have to appreciate all of these people, because if we don't appreciate these people, we don't appreciate where Islam is coming from. This is how we received Islam, and this is again a matter of adab and akhlaq, that we do it in that way. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is, of course, the beloved of Allah. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the one whom Allah linked his own name to within the kalima shahada. We believe as Muslims that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this whole creation for the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So really, I mean, how much importance is each of us giving to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in our own lives? And this is an excellent opportunity for us to reflect on that and to think about that and see how much we are following the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his message, his example, the way he was with people. As for Mawlid al-Nabi, there are people who discuss it and how we should celebrate it and in different ways. Most of the traditional ulama were okay with the celebration of Mawlid al-Nabi in some form or another. There was some disagreement on what date it should be celebrated, but not on the fact that it should be celebrated. I was watching Sheikh Hamza Youssef the other day, and he said, how can you be a Muslim if you do not love the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? The fact that he was born, we should love that. If we don't love that, then what love do we have for the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And if we don't love the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then how are we Muslims? So it's a very good question, Now, as for how Mawlid al-Nabi is celebrated, how we celebrate his birthday, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it will vary from one community to another. Some communities, it's traditional to have these, like a community walk where everybody walks together. They call it a julus. And, people walk through the community and they do dhikr, they do salawat or durood sharif, as they call it in the subcontinent, Indian subcontinent. But it doesn't have to always take that form. That is one way that it takes. But also, I mean, other communities might come together in like a more of a community event or a conference, sing nasheeds or read naats, poetry. Even in some communities, such as in Indonesia, it's quite common to bring music into these celebrations. But this is not necessarily agreeable to other communities where they question music a bit more, or they only allow certain types of music. But this is the variety within Islam, and we should appreciate that. And whatever is good and acceptable within our community, we should embrace that and work within that framework. I mean, we don't want to be like being so controversial we start upsetting people. But I mean, it's like if you're in a society where it's quite normal to use music and it's quite normal to do that, and you have a tradition of doing so with traditional songs, traditional music, then use that. If you are from a society where they do not do so much music and they focus more on poetry and the other ways of celebrating this, then do that. But whatever suits your local community, and your culture and is acceptable. But in some way or another, we should be celebrating the Mawlid of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this is an opportunity for us to share about the seerah, the life story of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to be learning about that, to be bettering our understanding of his life and of the Islam that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave to us. And there are so many lessons that we can learn from the seerah, from the life of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, from his teachings, from his example, from how he was with people. That, you know, we can reflect on his role as a leader, we can reflect on his role as a family man, as someone who is a statesman. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as we say in English, he wore many hats. He was, when he first started, well, even before he first started preaching, he was known as the honest and trustworthy. People used to, even after they disagreed with him, they used to leave their things with him, their items, when they were out of town. Or they needed somewhere safe to put their valuable items, they would leave it with the Prophet Muhammad, because they knew the Prophet Muhammad was honorable and was trustworthy and was reliable in this way. This was even before the Prophet Muhammad started preaching Islam. So there was this honorable, noble, trustworthy character of the Prophet Muhammad, that he was a reliable person in this way. And then there's another aspect of the Prophet Muhammad where he was obviously a family man. You know, he had children, and how he was with his wives and with his children, and how he was with his other relatives. And then there's another aspect of the Prophet Muhammad where he was a statesman. The Prophet Muhammad didn't take the title of king, but he was in many respects equivalent to a king later on in his life in Medina. So there's so many aspects of the Prophet Muhammad. He was also a great strategist and leader in other respects. And the Prophet Muhammad dealt with many challenges in his life through patience and with resilience. And in the difficult times that we are facing today, this is a valuable reminder for us that through patience and prayer, as Allah tells us in the Holy Quran, and through the resilience that we develop through that patience, through that resolve and perseverance, that we can overcome any obstacle, inshallah. I hope you found this useful and something to reflect upon. And maybe I'll talk a bit more next time about the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Until then, I wish you all a very good week. May Allah bless you all. May Allah bless your families and everybody in your communities. May Allah bless the people of Birmingham. May Allah bless the people of the United Kingdom, of Europe, of Indonesia, and all humanity. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallam. Salli ya Rabbi wa sallim ala jami' anbiya'i al-mursalin wa ala kulli ajma'in wa alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So I wish you all a wonderful week, and until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God be with you all.